Good evening, Fredonia. You're listening to the local lowdown on WCUF 88.9 The Voice and WDVL 89.5 The Inferno. Hi, I'm Mel, your co-host, executive producer, and promotions lead.
Hey, what's up? I am Jordan, and I am your other co-host. I am also the A&R lead.
Hey yo, it's me, Alex, in the booth once again, making sure all the sound equipment is sounding, and it's sounding pretty good.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Fredonia Radio Systems, in a group effort to promote and showcase the local music scene here in Fredonia, but also Western New York at large. Welcome to the Local Lowdown.
On this episode of the week, we have our guest, Stress Dolls. Hello, how are you? Hi. And well, I won't steal the introduction from you. So I'll say, how about you guys start off by introducing yourselves?
Sure. I'm Chelsea.
And I am Jordan Smith.
Nice. So why don't you guys start off by telling us any background with music, and then we'll come in with the questions.
Any background with music?
Yes, any backstory?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Going way back.
Going way back.
The beginnings, if
Let's
you will.
see. So I started playing piano when I was 5. I was enrolled in piano lessons, and I took piano for about 10 years, at which point my dad had always played guitar, and so I was kind of fascinated by it, but I was very intimidated by it. But for my 14th birthday, my dad noticed that I was kind of playing around with his guitar, so he bought me a guitar. So after that, I became obsessed with the guitar, and I started writing songs. And eventually in college, I was in a band, and I would play open mics on campus. And then post-college, got into another band, and just sort of snowballed from there. But so I've been writing songs a long time, and that's kind of my musical backstory. How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, so I also took piano lessons as a kid. I played trombone in school band.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
But then I got to do like the jazz band, and then in my teens, a bunch of my friends got into punk and hardcore music.
Okay.
We had like a little ska band for a bit.
Oh, yeah?
And
Nice.
then we had an emo band for a bit. And then half of us moved to Fredonia, and we ended up, most of us went to school for radio production. And
Nice.
also we played in a band called Hello Star Vega. And
Sounds familiar.
we played a bunch. One year we played like over 100 shows. So we
Oh,
were
wow.
very active at the time.
Nice.
But yeah, as I graduated, we all kind of drifted apart, and I ended up going to library school, and I kind of put music playing aside. I ran a record label for a bit. I worked in radio, and then I ended up going to library school, and I met Chelsea at the library, actually, because she was working in the children's department, and I was working in our computer training department. And then her band was doing this like live performance thing, and because I was doing like production stuff for the library, I ended up filming their like submission for Tiny Desk
In the stacks.
in the stacks of the library, which was very fun. But that was like my first introduction to Chelsea. And then during the pandemic, I kind of reconnected with music in a lot of ways, and I started playing guitar a lot again. And then I got really into modular synthesis. And I've been fiddling with synthesizers for like 3 years solid. And then, Chelsea reached out to me to do some guitar stuff on a record that she was putting together. And I asked her if she would be interested in doing some like electro pop stuff via email during the pandemic. And we've been making music ever
There you
since
go.
then.
Yeah, your answer was way better than mine.
Well,
It's like, wow, you were kicking this answer's butt.
Not on purpose.
Oh, you're like, thank you.
while we're on the topic of this, that other project, is that called Urge Surfer that
It
you're
is.
talking about?
It is.
Oh.
And
We do have
the meaning behind it has to do with kind of how we engage with our urges, right?
Yeah, so I was having like a lot of anxiety issues, especially during the pandemic. But I actually like my senior year of college, I was started having panic attacks and stuff like that, which is not fun, especially when you're trying to go to school.
Yeah.
So I've always been a pretty anxious person, and it's come in waves of intensity, and the pandemic was not helpful for that. So I ended up going back to therapy and stuff like that, and I ended up getting diagnosed with OCD. And OCD is like often thought of as someone who like does a lot of checking and has like tics and stuff like that, but the way it manifests for me is like obsessive thoughts that send you down like anxiety rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest well-known means of dealing with it is to do what's called immersion therapy, which is essentially like forcing yourself to and training yourself to endure having
Yes,
an
I
urge
have
to
heard,
do
yep.
something and riding it out. And I heard that term for the first time, urge surfing, and I just thought like, wow, what a visually enticing phrase.
Yeah.
And when I started making music again and thinking about different projects that potentially could come of making stuff with modular synths and dealing with the anxiety while going through it, it just kept coming back to me as like a phrase that I really gravitated towards. And yeah, I asked Chelsea if she liked it, and it kind of stuck as a project.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Urge Surfer.
Getting into the side projects quick in this one.
Straight into the questions.
Yeah. Well, that's
Nice.
cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn. Well, I didn't want to repeat the guitar question, but I wanted to say I am still afraid of guitars. Because I wanted to go more into, and I don't know the right way to pronounce this guitar brand name. Is it
Ibanez?
Ibanez? Am I saying it right?
I believe so.
Well, I don't know. But that was the guitar that was brought to you on your 14th, correct?
It was. Wow, you know your stuff.
Well, our A&R know our stuff. They choose the questions pretty nice. But that being said, up until like deciding when the right time or when I guess the fear of playing guitar wasn't so immense, was there any particular song or moment that kind of unlocked the, you know what, this guitar, like I want to continue playing. It doesn't hold like some type of fear over me.
I think, so I remember my one friend, she had a brother, an older brother, who was in bands. And so I was over at her house, and she had a lot of siblings. She had like literally like 6 siblings.
Oh, wow.
So she had this huge home. And all the way up in this tiny little attic was where her brother would practice with his band. So one day we were just kind of hanging out. She was like, you want to go up? Like, he's not home right now. You want to go up there and like see what we, grab his guitar? And I was like, okay. So we went up, and her brother, I think, had taught her just the 2 standard, which is Smoke on the Water and Iron Man, just on one, the E string. So she showed me, and, I did it too. And then I was like, wow, okay. Because I had watched my dad play. I mean, it wasn't my dad's fault. I had never asked him, like, show me how to play the guitar. You know what I mean? It was like, I would just kind of pick it up, and then I would be like, how do I make noises with this? Like, this is scary for me. But after that, I went home, and I picked up his guitar, and I just repeated what I had done at her place. And then it was funny because, to be honest with you, I had never heard the recordings of those songs in real life. So I had no concept of what they actually sounded like. So then I started messing around with like the timings and stuff. And I was like, oh, this sounds like way better. But then it wasn't, Iron Man or Smoke on the Water. But that was kind of, I think, the breaking point where I was like, wow, I could really be interested in this. And it was, right around the time, I think, of when my birthday was coming up. And, I think my dad saw that and was like, oh, okay, maybe she'd be interested. Because piano was something I had to do. It was a lesson, and I definitely found some enjoyment in it for sure. And I loved my teacher. We're actually still friends to this day. But I didn't feel a connection with it like how I did with the guitar, because
Right.
like all the bands I liked, they were playing guitars, and all the
Right.
people, you know, I was idolizing were playing guitar. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sick. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for the mini inspiration session for me, because I took one like official guitar lesson, and I've mentioned this multiple times. It just amazes me every time like I see artists play electric or acoustic, and I'm just like, wow. I'm afraid to pick mine up because I learned classical guitar for a semester, and that, I mean, obviously it's different than like just playing it because you have to have your stance right and whatnot. But point being is, it's inspiring nonetheless. Thank you.
I think we both took classical guitar while we were here.
we did. Yeah.
I mean, as someone who played guitar, I play guitar better than I ever have now, I would say. But when I was playing like 100 shows in a year, I was getting pretty good at guitar.
Yeah.
And playing classical guitar was insanely intimidating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You're not alone in thinking that that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. At least like half my friends come out being like, never again. And I'm like, all right, I'm okay with my C in the class.
Well, now that we have a really good backstory of this project, we're going to fast forward to the modern day. And you guys are about to embark on a 6-date spring tour. You're also playing as a duo with violinist Sally Schaefer.
Schaefer.
I was like, I'm just going to go for it and hope for the best, but you don't get them all. Yeah, what are you guys looking forward to on this tour?
Well, yeah, it's just kind of like random spurts of out of town shows, I suppose. But I'm just looking forward to playing different places and meeting people. Like we're playing Cleveland this weekend at Happy Dog. I've wanted to play
Nice.
Happy Dog
Nice.
for like over a year, so I'm really stoked on that.
Apparently, you can get hot dogs with Fruit Loops on it.
Yeah,
What?
all sorts of different hot dogs. Yeah, it's a hot dog joint, but it's also a music venue. Go figure.
Wow.
So looking forward to that. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming up we're looking forward to, but some of it's not being talked about yet. Yeah. Another really cool big show coming up in June that will be announced next week. So maybe by this
Sick.
time this comes out,
Yeah.
it will be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, in the future, if you guys were to go on tour and be an opener for any artist in the world, who would it be?
I know Jordan's answer.
Ooh,
Oh,
locked and
But
loaded.
I know what you're saying, but it would be in the context of Urge Surfer.
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for Stress Dolls, but
I'm a little obsessed with Sylvan Esso.
Okay.
So if it was Urge Surfer, I would say it's Sylvan Esso. I have an idea of who you would choose for Stress Dolls, but
come on. Do you not know?
I mean, it could be a couple different people, but my guess is Foo Fighters.
Oh, well, that's a good guess.
Okay.
It could also be Jimmy Eat World.
Jimmy Eat World, all the way.
Okay.
That's like, I think Jimmy Eat World. The other day, my boyfriend asked me, he's like, who's your favorite band of all time? And I was like, gee, I don't know. And he was like, is it Jimmy Eat World? And I was like, it might be Jimmy Eat World. I was like, that seems like very possible because
Yeah.
I've just loved them since I was a teenager and they consistently come out with good music. So I'm down.
Yeah, I feel
Jimmy
like some
World.
people think of them as a one-hit wonder, but they definitely have like other good songs too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe not everyone thinks that, but I feel like maybe a little
The
bit.
middle is like hardly scratching the surface of their
Yeah,
catalog.
I
Right.
think
be
just
honest.
with some bands when they have like that song that just really, really stands out, it's sometimes hard for people to like associate it with, you know, their other stuff too. But I saw them open for Third Eye Blind. They were fun.
Was that at Lewiston?
I don't even remember. I think it was somewhere in Maine. It was with my family.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, I think I saw that same tour. They came to Art Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a few years ago. Or,
Yeah.
you know, prior to COVID. Yeah.
Well, we have our tickets to see them this summer.
That's right.
Nice.
Jimmy Eat World, invite us to play with you
It's out there now. It might happen.
out in the universe.
Yeah.
That being said, I want to touch up on a subject. I want to make sure I'm reading this right. So Chelsea, you mentioned that your experience with chronic illness has inspired many songs, while it's also been an obstacle for you in your career as a touring musician. Can you expand on what it's been like to navigate these setbacks in your music career, and how has music been a creative outlet for you during this time?
Sure. I've actually been reflecting on it a lot because right now, I think today, it's been 5 years since I was discharged from the hospital. I went for a procedure to get a feeding tube, and it went awry. I ended up being there for almost a month, and I got out, and I really thought like everything was over. Prior to that, I had moved to Nashville, and I was hoping to maybe, make something happen with music there, and I just got sicker and sicker. Came home, and then after that whole thing, I was like, well, that dream is dead. But that said, music was really the thing that like helped me kind of not be totally depressed, because it wasn't, like there was the hospital experience, and there was a lot that led up to it, but then there was still a lot that happened after it, because with chronic illness, it never truly goes away. It's like you're always in a series of flares and remission, flare, remission.
Right.
So I think in some ways the experience with illness almost emboldened me to feel like powerful in a way, just because it was like overcoming, and not being afraid anymore. Like prior to dealing with all the physical pain and stuff that I would deal with, it's like performing would seem so much more intimidating. Now it was like, okay, well, you're dealing with this side stuff. It's almost like the performing's the fun part.
Right.
So it's like, so that's no longer as much stress as the other things you're dealing with. But music just kind of served as an outlet to, I suppose, remind me that, there's somebody else in there. It's not just, you're not just ill. I mean, it sounds weird, but it's like when you deal with it so consistently on a regular basis, and especially when I've been in flare-ups that last months and months and months, just like seemingly without end, and you start to feel like I'm just a sick person. It's like it's hard because you can't work. You can't really socialize like the way that you used to.
Right.
Couldn't eat the same. It literally has changed the entire course of my life. But that said, like music was, once I was well enough to go out at night and like perform, it was like that was a grounding thing for me of like, okay, well, I still have this.
Right.
So yeah, it's been, I think, pretty big in helping me out of some really dark mental places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very.
Is there any particular song or project that really goes into depth about that and helped you cope with that you wrote?
Well, like I said, Curves and Edges,
Yeah.
Swollen, which was also on that first EP. Those were like the
2016,
first.
right?
Yeah. And then the whole record, Pain is a Season, is pretty much all like songs that were written after the experience I just talked about.
Right. And there's a song called Nashville on there. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of delved into it. I mean, honestly, like I think shades of it are always going to be in places in my writing, like not even always consciously. It's kind of like sometimes I write something and then I'll reflect on it later, and it doesn't have to be super direct. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like spelling it out for people. Like, but it's just, it's such a big part of my life. It's kind of hard to ignore.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about your most recent project, Forward, which came out at the beginning of 2022. What can you tell us about this project and how did it come together?
So Forward actually was kind of in response, like I said, Pain is a Season was so much about all that stuff. Forward was intentionally very much not about any of it. You know what I mean?
I
It
was
was
kind of
like,
getting that sense.
yeah, it was like, okay, like don't want to think about that for this, like just kind of want to start fresh. So several of the songs on Forward, I think 3 of them are based on books. And then the other ones are just kind of, I don't know, songs that I liked. And it came together. I worked with my friend Mark Hunt, who is a engineer in Buffalo. And he was the one who kind of, acted as co-producer on the record. And then I basically pulled some of my favorite musicians out of the Buffalo music community, including Jordan and TJ Luckman, who's also the bassist right now, and Josh English on drums, and then Sally Schaefer, as mentioned. And we played a show, like the release show together, And after that, decided it didn't have to be a one-time thing, which made me very happy because I really enjoy playing music with all these peeps. So
It's been very fun. Been very fun indeed.
That's interesting. I've always like wondered, especially with solo artists who end up, either creating music and or deciding to perform live. It's always like how do I want to go about this? Am I the only one going on stage? Can I, have friends or other people who can help me out with the project? And more times than not, it ends up being like a lasting thing. Because sometimes I've heard that like, they'll ask their friends on a whim, hey, I got this gig, can you help me out? But then like after performing once or twice, they're like, you know what, I like this. And I feel like this could definitely go long term. And it's always like kind of formed into like this really beautiful thing. So it's nice to hear that it's the same thing here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel super fortunate, not only because Chelsea's just a stellar songwriter, but the people that she has worked with and allowed me to kind of join in the fun of are just stellar musicians. And like I said, I hadn't been really playing music for like over a decade.
Wow.
So it was kind of a big step for me to agree to do some live performances because I hadn't done it in so long, and it's hard to get back in the groove of doing it. And honestly, we've been doing it for like over a year now, and only in the last couple months have I felt like 100% back into it.
But Jordan can rip.
I mean, I hear it.
But it's one of those things where you have to be. I mean, it's like public speaking, right? Like you have to know your material, and once you know your material, you can be comfortable. And I'm a person who the process of making music is 90% of the fun for me. So, like I play on a daily basis, but it's purely for fun. I'm not learning other people's songs. I'm not even really returning to my own songs. I'm just making stuff all the time. And that makes it hard for me to retain songs. So like, it was kind of a struggle for me to get back in the flow of being like, okay, we're going to play a show and I have to memorize these 10 songs. And it's like, it was hard for me, but I feel I'm like back into it. It's good.
Right. But talking about playing live, and you guys, obviously you've performed here. Both Chelsea and Jordan are not only alum at Fredonia, but also they're part of the radio station. But not only that.
It gets better.
It gets better. I should have prepared for this. But let's just say that it's been a very long time coming. And if, you guys watched up until now, you see our faces, they're familiar. But this story goes way back. And I think we've mentioned it last semester, and honestly the year before. 2023 is the actual 10th year. My mistake. But speaking of Chelsea before, it was technically conceived in 2012. So technically we're not wrong. That being said, that's the word.
You can say that.
That's the word.
You can say it was totally conceived in 2012.
Alex is so disappointed over there. That being said, you were the one who started the Local Lowdown. This is kind of why we are here. We've kind of brought along the same mission and purpose of what we do and how we do it.
Chelsea is our grand creator.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I mean, it is, because honestly, I don't even think I would have come up with the name. I already struggled with.
It's a great name.
It really is, and it kind of stuck around, and it at least makes me fortunate. And I feel like we've talked like in the past, and I was like, it's been very much of a long time coming episode.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That being said, how does it feel like to come back full circle and to be on the show as an artist now, and being the one getting asked the question?
It's super cool. It's crazy. It's been 10 years. Once you guys are 10 years out of college, you'll realize like how weird it is. Like when you come back, it's like, wow, it's really been that long. But I'm just so like amazed and impressed by how far it's come. I mean, like, you guys have done, this is amazing. This entire setup is incredible.
We have
Thank
a
you.
banner now.
Yeah, like you have a whole banner in the studio. I mean, that's like, this is leagues beyond where it was when I started doing it. And really, like, everybody who took it up, I'm just so grateful and thankful that people kept taking it up and had enough interest in the local music scene to continue it. Because there really is such a thriving music community in this region. And like, it would be such a shame if people, you know, weren't exposed to it. So I'm just like so happy that it's still around.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. I think and it's always like come up as a question, you know, like incoming freshmen or even sophomore. They're like, yeah, I constantly or sometimes get like a mistake and be like, yeah, you started. I'm like, no. I was like, this is a long time show.
Yeah.
But I will definitely say like it's taken on different forms throughout the years. It's kind of, you know, kept the same purpose and mission as I mentioned earlier, but it's kind of like taken different forms. And
Definitely.
I feel really honored on my end to like have been given the already idea and kind of form it to, you know, what it is. But at the end of the day, it kind of comes back to, you know, like what's it for? And it's for local musicians and showcasing their artwork and their story and whatnot. And making sure that like it is showcased properly, you know, because so much goes on all the time, and it sometimes, you know, listening to music, you don't really get the chance to either look at interviews or like blogs and stuff of artists, and you know, we like to think that we give that type of platform to artists so they can showcase and talk about their upbringing with music and like upcoming projects and whatnot. So I think it really is full circle, but I also did want to like give a proper thank you because I think it's definitely like something that plays like a big role, at least in my for my college life in general. And I think it has to a lot of people who not only are on our team, and I mentioned it before, because now we have like close to 15 people working on this project like on a daily basis, and like everyone is super intrigued and involved in the music scene. But again, none of this could have been possible without like it having been made in the first place.
Yeah.
But
Well, you
Definitely.
guys are very
Thank
kind. It's like making me feel like, emotional. That's really kind, and thank you for carrying it on and like making it this big production. You know, now I feel like it's really, I'm sure it's here to stay. So that's awesome.
It was worth it.
Yes, it was worth it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it develops from here.
Oh yeah. Listen, I mentioned it before, but like both Alex and I are graduating, but like it's so weird because like when you finally get to a comfortable place and you're like, well, that was nice while it lasted. Here you go, you know, pass it off. But also, who knows? Like maybe 10 years down the line, I look back at this, I'm like, wow. I'm hoping it's, you know, more than what we've done so far, but. Yeah, it'd be nice to look back on it, but I don't want to think too far ahead right now.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
Yeah.
Only about to graduate.
Yeah.
yeah.
One thing that has stayed maybe somewhat consistent with the show is the performance, and we're about to get into that.
Yes.
Take it away, guys.
All right. Well, this first song is called Daisy, and it's actually based on the book Daisy Jones and the Six, which I think now is a series, but it's not very good. But all right. Unfortunately. So, ready? Like the sun in the aurora, you were pink and gold and blue. I didn't want your answers, but all dead ends led to you. And I'd rather be wasted than wasting my time thinking someday maybe you could be mine. But here's the problem, darling. You were more than just an itch. Every time I'd scratch that glass, you just reflect right off of it. And I'd rather be wasted than wasting my time I'm thinking someday maybe you could be mine. She said, Daisy, don't be waiting, 'cause he'll come home to me. And I'm sorry that you're lonely, but you'll never be free if you keep your hands in your pockets, trying to find what you need. Oh, honey, save that last song for me. Release me like you need me. Do you want me? Can you feel me? Release me, don't come clean, oh Daisy. Release me like you need me. Do you want me? Can you heal me? Release me, please believe, oh Daisy. He said, Daisy, I've been waiting. Won't you come home to me? Don't be sorry, we're not lonely. Honey, we're meant to be. And we'll keep our hands out our pockets, 'cause we found what we need. Oh, honey, save that last song for. Release me like you need me. Do you want me? Can you feel me? Release me, don't come clean, oh Daisy. Release me like you need me. Do you want me? Can you heal me? Release me, please believe, oh Daisy. This next one is called Nervous, and I don't write love songs often, but this is a love song. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. When all we've said isn't enough, it rarely is, and baby never was. We trace our fingers through the ruts. These amber stains are proof of what's to come. And sometimes when you don't deserve it, I pick a fight without a purpose, just to wake myself in case it's all a dream. 'Cause I know nobody's perfect, but you still make me just as nervous as the days I felt you weren't within my reach. So walk with me through the woods. Let's shake the these trees and see if they've got roots. And the soil is ready for rebirth. A little hope is all it takes, a seed sown in the earth. And when we tire of these verses, I hope the ground steps in to save us, keep the earthquake rumbling beneath our feet. 'Cause I know that we're not perfect, but you still make me just as nervous as the days I felt you were within my reach. The nail marks on my palms, your face and all my favorite songs. It's like my stereo is blaring in your smile. And this I promise you, no rings, no vows, I'd still be true. Yeah, even in the tamest touch, our love runs wild. There's nothing left to hinder. I hear a story in your whisper. Hush, memories like visions in our sleep. 'Cause I know that we're not perfect, but you still make me just as nervous as the days I felt you weren't within my reach. As the days I felt you weren't within my reach. As the days I felt you weren't within my reach. Woo. Okay. This next one is called Spark. That's surrounding me. Your grip is strong, but still I stop to breathe. I feel my chest torn towards the latter half, the former a warm blow against my back. And now I only wish to have you take it back to the beginning, light the spark. Take it back to the beginning, light the spark. Oh, oh, my hands are within reason, my heart's within treason. Take it back to the beginning, light the. Strong desire for a note or a simple rhyme, the brush of luck, the spinning of a dime. No matter where it falls, there's no contest. Even at our worst, we're our best. But in the twist of fate, how am I to choose? No matter which route I take, I lose. And now I only wish to tell you, take it back to the beginning, light the spark. Take it back to the beginning, light the spark. My head's within reason, my heart's within treason. Take it back to the beginning, light the. Well, I swore you felt it too. why can't I feel it too? Well, I swore you felt it too. I'll take it back to the beginning, like the head's within reason, my heart's within treason, and that's why I'll take it back to the beginning. I think I hit the microphone. Was that okay? Yeah, that was fine. Okay. Cool. I was like, oh no, did I just mess that all up? Okay. Crazy. Alrighty. This next one is called Crazy, and I wrote it a while ago now, but it's, I guess, about my displeasure with technology. And somewhat social media. That was the thought behind it when I wrote it. So anyway, here we go. For such a lonely soul who always opted out, I'm at the point I can't live without you, there's just no doubt. You hold me in my sleep and bring to life my dreams. And when I deplore, say I was better before you, remind me quietly, who needs the whole story when you've got a summary? And who needs a good morning when you've got a silver screen? And who needs you, baby, when I've got my megabytes? The whole world's gone crazy, and so have I. Put away that paper, baby, 'cause I'm your pen. Oh, put away that brain of yours, tuck it into bed. 'Cause who needs thoughts, those helpless worries that trouble your day? I know you were sure you were better before, but honey, I'm here to stay. Who needs the whole story when you've got a summary? And who needs a good morning when you've got a silver screen? And who needs you, baby, when I've got my megabytes? The whole world's gone crazy, and so have I. I'm sure I was better before. Think you were better, oh, think you were better. Are you sure you were better before? Think I was better, I think I was better. I'm sure I was better before. Think you were better, oh, think you were better. Are you sure you were better before? I was better before. I was better before. Who needs the whole story when you've got a summary? And who needs a good morning when you've got a silver who needs you, baby, when I've got my megabytes? The whole world's gone crazy, and so have I.
Woo!
Thank you. This last one is called Curves and Edges, and I deal with chronic illness. I have ulcerative colitis, among other things, and it's been a very up and down journey throughout the years. But I've found that songwriting is very cathartic, and this was probably one of the earliest songs where I really wrote about it. So that's what it's about. And all right. She's a shot in the dark, and the ache in your back. She's a bull in the yard, and you're wearing all red. She's a wisp in the wind, a fragment carried away. A willow swaying in time with the breeze before it gets blown out the bay. So string me up tall, and I'll be your rag doll, positioned to join in a dance that doesn't leave life much chance to fall. I've got no curves, just edges, in case you didn't notice. The burn and the starve is the worst. It's a flame that burrows hard in her eyes. The punch in the gut, it's a kick, it's a bully left that you despise. So lay it on thick and show me that puncture the lip. It's a push and a pull to the top. Whether you like it or not, you've been bit. Got no curves, just edges, in case you didn't notice. I've got no definition, and all that I know is I got no curves, just edges, and the sorry truth is if you're young, then you're pitied. If you're old, you're ignored. You don't want it, but you got it, and that's the last score. If you're young, then you're pitied. If you're old, you're ignored. You don't want it, but you got it, and that's the last score. I've got no curves, just edges, in case you didn't notice. I've got no definition, and all that I know is I got no curves, just edges, and the sorry truth is you don't want it, but you got it, so guess what, you gotta want it, but you got it, so guess what, you gotta want it, but you got it, so guess what, you gotta deal with it. Woo. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for that performance.
Thank
We
you,
really
thank you.
appreciate you guys coming on the show, making the drive It's always very appreciated by the team here. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Driving through town was super nostalgic.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, you mentioned this during your performance. I also saw that you had spoken about this on your Instagram maybe once or twice. In terms of your relationship with social media, the internet. I think even on one of your posts you said, you wouldn't even have social media if it wasn't for promoting your music.
That's very true.
Yeah. How do you balance the just creation, performance aspect of music with that promotion that you have to do on social media?
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's difficult for me personally. I just feel like I'm in one of two worlds. It's like I either can totally unplug from it and be like content,
Yeah.
or it's like I'm addicted, I'm checking it constantly. So I really need to put time limits almost on it. Like that's just my point of view. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I get some people can totally have a very happy relationship with social media and not feel that way. I think for me it's just if I get too consumed in it, I just feel bogged down. I don't feel good. So I just don't like to be on it super often. So it's still, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out because it is necessary at this point. If you're doing any sort of creative project on your own, you need to have some sort of presence because like otherwise, how are people going to know about your shows? How are people going to know about your music?
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of impossible at this point to get away from.
Yeah. I definitely struggle with that myself too, with just having creative things going on. It's always it's always the last step in the process, like in my mind. So it's always just the thing that I'm like, well, it's fine. Like I don't need, or like I just don't take that last step,
Right.
But-
I mean, even showing up today in the parking lot, we're taking a picture. And
Right.
You're making sure that people know we're here. And I mean, it's part of the fun of it. And like social media is meant to be fun in a way.
yeah.
But that's
So
definitely
It's a good thing to keep in mind. Yeah.
But yeah, it is very much work in this context.
Yeah. I mean, I will say you guys are definitely not the only one. I can't think of the artist particularly, but there have definitely been artists on the show in which we've talked to about like, especially during like COVID and stuff like that, trying to either promote like art or their artwork in general or their songs and stuff and having like that balance because like, yeah, obviously, promoting and stuff as a band is difficult, but, especially when you're talking specifically with solo artists is like, you're managing a lot of this on your own. And like the balance between it can get so difficult because like, you want to have like, how much time do you want to dedicate on your music? And like, how much time do you want to dedicate on your promotion? Cause like, depending on the aspect of stuff, like some stuff weigh as much as others. But I will say on a personal level, sometimes I get the opposite in which like I get over inspired and then the immediate hit of like, I should be doing this. Oh no. And then it kind of just comes back down to like, well, I'm also like head of promotions. So the fact that like the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, and the Facebook all has to be updated. And like, thank gosh, I have like people helping me and my team to work with that. But at the end of the day, yeah, it is work nonetheless. And unfortunately, it's not like a forethought because I can also go hours without looking at my phone. But also, that is the only way of communication between any of the stuff that we all do. So like, I definitely understand the thought of it beforehand. But it's always interesting to hear how artists kind of come about it because I feel like many of them have different relationships with it and it's interesting.
Well, it's like you're a creative person and you like to write. And there are definitely times where I kind of miss being in that bubble of like, I just write and I create. You know what I mean? Like, because that's like, it's a whole other job to be like promoting. It's just, it's a totally, and I mean, like, sometimes I like it, sometimes it's fun. And other times, though, it's not as fun. It's like, okay, well, now I have to be sure that I get this post on this day and like mention these things. And like Jordan's saying, it's like, got to remember to post in the story. I mean, it gets a little overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Understandable.
But everyone has to deal with it. Who's doing this kind of thing,
For a couple of years, I was the social media coordinator for a film festival in New York City called Doc NYC. And after doing that job, I was just like, I never want to use social media again.
Yeah.
And I'm like 100% addicted, like on a personal level. But like, as a promotional tool, I am like
Oh yeah.
so over it.
It is. It is.
Uh,
Especially when like a schedule comes down and you're like, well, this time, this date, tag this person with this thing, tag this location, and then like,
tiring.
God forbid you like miss one step and you're like delete post, redo everything again. Anyway, well, that was a personal rant.
Yeah,
On
we
that
got
same
into it.
level, wow.
That's okay.
I hope you all feel the same way on the other side of the camera.
Oh man.
Well, I think it's time we pass it off to a very important and special member of the team,
Unlock the beast.
certified merch gremlin.
That was a lot kinder than last week. I'm no longer coming out of the dungeon.
Yeah, I thought I'd throw you a bone.
Just opening the door
unlocked him.
now. Wow.
Yeah. Welcome.
Well, y'all know the drill. I'm Alex. I'm the tech director, but I do have another job here. I have a secondary job. As my dear friends mentioned, I am the merch gremlin of the group. I'm in the gold mines. I'm digging for merch. I'm digging for artist merch. And let me tell you,
Right.
I didn't have to dig too long
Ooh.
before I hit the golden nugget.
Let's go.
Yup. Bandcamp.com.
Love that site.
Love that site. It is always my first reference. I always hop on it. And let me tell you, there is some very interesting merch on that Stress Dolls page that I'm really digging. The temporary tattoo and the bookmark,
Ooh, temporary tattoo.
Oh.
that is unfortunately sold out.
We're sold out.
Don't get excited about that. Never mind.
Well,
But the bookmark, what caused the idea of making a bookmark?
I love to read and I wanted a unique merch item. And I was like, gee, I used to make friendship bracelets. Maybe I can make that into a bookmark. And that's what I did. And I gotta say, I mentioned it to, I was with my mom the other day and I mentioned her and she looked at me like I was crazy. But here's the kicker. I put them for sale and within 5 minutes, somebody from Germany bought one.
Oh.
wow.
Stand corrected,
So-
Mom.
There you go, Mom. No, I love my mom. Love you, Mom.
I love like the super unique merch
Yes.
ideas. They're always super cool and super interesting. But I do have to ask because I just love collecting, physical media. And I know you made a bunch of CDs for various projects, but I did notice, at least on the Bandcamp, there's Nothing for Pain is a Season. Is there any plans to maybe put that on a CD or something? Or any plans for more physical media? Because I know most of the CDs appear to be sold out currently.
Yeah, at this point, no, because it's hard to move CDs. It really is. I love CDs personally, but it's tough and it stinks to be stuck with a bunch of them. And I was so relieved, to be honest, when I was like, oh, good, now they are all sold out. Yeah, and Pain is a Season. I just didn't feel compelled to do the whole traditional thing. It came out during COVID. It was like, I'm not playing any shows. Might as well just put it online and people can enjoy it from there if they want to listen.
Well, besides the physical media, then, is there any plans for anything new in the merch? Either a new sticker, a new T-shirt design, or anything in the works?
I do think there may be a new T-shirt design just in time for our show in June.
Yeah.
Should I mention that now or should
Yeah,
I
let's
wait?
go for
I
it.
mean, no, please. You're
All
talking
right.
about merch.
Well, I'm really excited about this, as Jordan probably knows, because I've been wanting to play this venue since I was a teenager. But we have a show at Town Ballroom Friday, June 9th, playing with Cooler, Star Juice, and Tsunami Surprise.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, it should be really fun. And hopefully by then, might have a new T-shirt design. Maybe. But, you can find all the rest of the merch. If there are any bookmarks left, maybe I'll make more bookmarks if they sell out. Yeah, but I'm really, as you can tell, I'm tongue-tied talking about it because I'm so excited. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sick.
We're stoked for you, too. Some
Well.
great bands that we've also talked to. Yeah, awesome.
That's sick. I'm ready to think about the design. Wait, let me know. Because I was like, ooh, what type of design would it be?
Do you have
Anyway.
ideas?
No, I feel like I'm going to get it wrong. Is it like a bright colored or is it like a black t-shirt?
A bright colored. But
Oh, I got it so
see.
wrong in my head. Never mind. That being said, well, we're just talking about like upcoming shows. Is there any upcoming projects that you'd want to let us know, either in the upcoming months or something we should be looking out for in the future?
Well, that June show's pretty big, but other than that, yeah. Jordan and I are always working on stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know when we're gonna release more Urge Surfer music.
Yeah,
but
we have some songs done and some in limbo and always something in patchwork form.
yeah,
But
maybe in the summer or something. Who knows? But
Urge Surfer is definitely like a project with full intention on fun. And if it's not fun, then we're not doing it.
Oh, I like that. If it's not fun, we're not doing it.
very true.
So when we're bogged down with other stuff, it's in the background, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
And there is new Stress Styles music, but TBD when it's going to be released.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I can't say it sounds real good.
I'm reading the room. Look out for it.
Mystery for now.
Just follow on Spotify and stuff, and then you'll know when it comes out.
Oh, absolutely.
There you
go.
That being said, again, thank you guys so much for coming on. I don't think y'all realize, like, I feel like it's so honored. I think that's the word I'm trying to use. I think it's senior year me about to dissipate into the real world. It finally like has something to check off, you know?
Yeah.
But that being said, you guys sounded amazing, and I think I'm so happy that you guys came on.
Well, thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And that concludes another episode of the Local Lowdown. Thank you once again, and I'm super excited for the show that is coming up, and any upcoming projects that you might or might not have. Take us away.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Local Lowdown on 88.9 WCVF The Voice and 89.5 WDVL The Inferno. We'll be back next week with some more terrific local music. Same time,
same place. Goodbye.
To the top and down memory lane. I've become a mole walker on cold, relentless days, riding escalators and wandering checkered paths, like the best laid plans in my hands. This road has no map. Gazing in store windows, I remember who I was. Catching my reflection, I'm reminded.